Good morning.
It's not on.
We all come here for different reasons. To find community, to seek spiritual and personal truths, to question, to nurture heart and soul, to be nurtured, to explore new ideas, to find comfort, and perhaps to find some answers to important questions. We welcome you. We all come from different places, different religions, different beliefs, and different backgrounds. We hope to find comfort, challenge, and love here. Welcome all. I'm Dave Cook, your service coordinator for today. If you're new to North Chapel, welcome. If you're visiting, please consider signing the guest book at the back of the sanctuary. We have hearing assistance devices and large print versions of the hymns and the order of service in the back. Monica will be leading spiritual exploration today, this Sunday for the kids. After the service, we invite you to visit with each other in whatever setting you find most comfortable. We have a social hall downstairs where there's coffee, and masks are optional. Though as a precaution, we ask you to wash your own cup and utensils, or remain in the sanctuary or enjoy the porch. Please take the time to read the announcements in the order of service. Now's the time to put your cell phone in worship mode, to be mothered, in the sense of loved and respected and treated tenderly and nourished. I feel mothered at this time of year by Mother Earth, feeling the warmth of the sun caressing my face. In the fall, Mother Earth treats my eyes to foliage. In the winter, to sparkling snow. In the spring, I witness renewal and feel encouraged. I hope that you feel mothered too. We'll now have a poem by Laura Foley.
Thank you. I wanted to share a poem from last weekend. I got to spend it, I had the good fortune of spending it with my granddaughter, Evelyn. And it was also, you might remember, the weekend of the coronation. So this is called The Coronation. In our hotel room, in pajamas, we watch it on TV. A princess in bright crimson and blue. The new king with his jewels, his crown, processions of fine horses, soldiers in tall black hats, the white-haired queen with diamond rings. Later, seeing an older woman outside, slumped, but lit by the sun, waiting on a bench, Evelyn whispers, "That lady looks like the queen. Her hair is so sparkly." And I see what she means, so we tell her, and as she takes in Evelyn's beaming face, she straightens up, blushes with pleasure, as we see her now becoming royal to herself, waving to us as a car approaches, as she departs into her Subaru turned golden coach. Thank you.
I'm glad that that's on tape. Good morning and good Sunday. I hope that this new day finds you well. Welcome to the dreamers, to the seekers of spirit so bold and bashful on the quest. Welcome to the wanderers and the worshipers here to give their souls a rest. Welcome to the open ones and to the broken ones, blissfully imperfect, blessed and beloved, caring and compassionate beneath the stars above, held whole and honored by a love that knows no bounds. To all souls I say, good morning, it is good to be together. Today is Sunday, May the 14th, and I'm very glad to see you all. The title of this morning's reflection is All I Ask of You, O God. It is a reflection about the depth of spirit that we may all have in common. I'm open to that possibility. I'm present to it. I believe in that reality, although I think it depends on us. It is a beautiful responsibility. Are we ready for it? Because the new world is coming. Are you ready? As Arundhati Roy reminds us, another world is not only possible, she is on her way. And on a quiet day, if we listen carefully, we can hear her breathing. We are being asked to grow. We are being made to grow. In the deepest sense, we are being asked and made to blossom, and blossom we will, by choice, by luck, by grace, or kicking and screaming, we will all blossom. They say that April showers bring May flowers, and I think that that's true, whether or not we get the weather we wanted. Now, I don't know about this, but did anybody out there, when you were younger, ever want to grow up to become a meteorologist? Like in your soul, did it feel like your calling? I wonder about this question, and I wonder if this vocation is available to those who grow up in places that have desert climates, or in the tropics, or in Antarctica, where it seems like the weather rarely changes. Of course, there must be striking changes that are obvious if you live there. I remember first learning that the Eskimo Aleut have more than 50 different names for snow. I grew up in New Jersey, so that was unfathomable to me. Snow, snowbank, snowflake, fine snow, snow on the ground, soft, deep snow, fresh snow, frost. Frozen, falling water, freezing rain, floating, fluffy. I was insensitive. It was all the same to me, partly because we didn't have that kind of variety in New Jersey. It was all the same. A friend told me a groaner of a joke the other day about sameness. He said, a penguin walks into a bar, and he waddles up to the bartender and he says, "Hey, has my mother been here?" And the bartender says, "I don't know. What does she look like?" I found that hilarious. I'm a little surprised that you're laughing. I don't know what that says about us. But I like jokes that make you groan, so long as they aren't too offensive. All this to explore the question, if one grows up in a climate where the weather rarely changes, or changes only slightly, is one more or less inclined to become a meteorologist? Life becomes beautiful when we can ask ourselves meaningful questions like this in church. A poet writes, "I turned on the weatherman was half of the news. I need a sweet rain to wash away my blues. He looked to the chart and he looked in vain, heavy cloud, but no rain. Sometimes we don't get the things we need to grow. Sometimes we get the deluge, other times we get the drought." The poet continues, "The land was cracking and the river was dry. All the crops were dying when they ought to have been high. So to save his farm from the banker's draft, the farmer took out a book on some old witchcraft. He made a spell and a potion on a midsummer night. He killed a brindled calf in the pale moonlight. He prayed to the sky, but he prayed in vain. Heavy cloud, but no rain. Sometimes we don't get the things we need to grow. The idea is troublesome to mothers. Mothers whose job it is, whose imagined job it is, to provide the child with all the child needs to grow. But how do you know? If one's child is to grow up to become a man like Mitch McConnell, who is in the news these days, something about the pressure that he's facing about raising the debt ceiling, how do you know what baby Mitch really needs? I also don't know why that's funny. If one's child is to grow up to become a woman like Monica Lewinsky, a woman who withstood the scowls of a voyeuristic nation for years, how does one know what baby Monica really needs? And if one's child is to grow up to become a man like Martin Luther King, how does one know what baby Martin needs? It's a puzzle. Who knows how to figure that out? Baby Mitch, baby Monica, and baby Reverend Dr. Martin, they are all among us right now. What do you think they need in order to become the best possible versions of themselves? As the Martin Luther King Research and Education Institute at Stanford reminds us, it was in a prophetic final speech that King revealed that he was not afraid. Bravely, he said, "Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will, and I am so happy. Happy tonight. I am not worried about anything. I am not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord." And when he did, he was quoting a Unitarian. He was quoting a woman who was raised Episcopalian but became a Unitarian in 1841. Martin Van Buren, William Henry Harrison, and John Tyler were all presidents of the United States that year. I have to figure out why that's true. It was decades before the Emancipation Proclamation and the ensuing Civil War. It was decades before Julia Ward Howe, would write the battle hymn of the Republic. "Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord. He has trampled out the vintage where the grapes of wrath were stored. He has loosed the fatal lightning of his terrible swift sword. His truth is marching on." This was her first verse. She wrote, "In the beauty of the lilies, Christ was born across the sea, with a glory in his bosom that transfigures you and me. He died to make men holy. Let us die to make men free, while God is marching on." This was her last verse. It is a deeply theological text, a spectacularly Christian text, and I wonder how we feel about that now. I love it, I must say, because the language just paralyzes most Unitarian Universalist congregations today. I absolutely love it, for however anxious or injured we have been or are by the religious experience that may have harmed us and influenced who we have become, we cannot change who we once were. I like that we have to grapple with the reality of that. I think that it makes us stronger. Julia Ward Howe was also the author of the original Mother's Day Proclamation of 1870. It was a rousing anti-war message, revolutionary for its time. She wrote, "Arise, all women who have hearts, whether your baptism be of water or of tears. Say firmly, we will not have great questions decided by irrelevant agencies. Our husbands shall not come to us reeking with carnage for caresses and applause. Our sons will not be taken from us to unlearn all that we have been able to teach them of charity, of mercy, and patience. We women of one country will be too tender of those of another country to allow our sons to be trained to injure theirs." After the attacks of 9/11, author and public intellectual Arundhati Roy echoed this sentiment in a rousing anti-war message of her own in September of 2002, a year after the crisis. She said, "None of us need anniversaries to remind us of what we cannot forget. The grief is still deep, the rage is still sharp, and the tears have not yet dried, and a strange and deadly war is raging all around the world. Yet each person who has loved one, each person who has lost a loved one surely knows, secretly, deeply, that no war can revenge, no act of revenge, no daisy cutters dropped on someone else's children or loved ones can blunt the edges of our pain or bring our loved ones back." In 2002, Arundhati Roy, who hails from Delhi in India, was rubbing literary elbows with the words of Julia Ward Howe in 1870, "Small world." When I think of Mother's Day, I think about how complicated it is, because motherhood itself is super complicated, because raising a child is a fantastic challenge in life, and because it can go in so many different directions, all of them sacred. And because not everyone wants to be a mother, not everyone who wants to be a mother becomes a mother in a physical or a biological way. And because not everyone who does become a mother finds it easy to raise a child. It's difficult. Some of us become mothers rather unexpectedly, while others of us truly try with all of our might and it doesn't come to pass. And because the relationship between a mother and child is always so complicated, and because of all the other becauses that make life baffling and brutal and beautiful. Yet something simple remains, infinitely accessible to human imagination: a mother's wish, a mother's hope, a mother's longing, a mother's prayer. However flawed, however imperfect the parent, something simple remains. And in that window of time between conception and birth, I imagine that there must be something universal, a universal wish, a collective hope, a shared longing, a common prayer. All I ask of you, O God, is that this child be made ready to thrive in whatever way that is real for this child. All I ask of you, O God, is that this child be made ready to thrive. Now, earlier this week, David shared a song with me that the two of us discussed at length and found beautiful and fascinating. The title of the song was "All I Ask of You, O God." And I'm going to attempt to play it in a moment. But David, would you mind sharing the words with the congregation just while I get myself prepared? Could you do that? Could you come up?
Solo le pido a Dios, by Leon Gieco. Solo le pido a Dios que el dolor no me sea indiferente, que la reseca muerte no me encuentre vacío y solo sin haber hecho lo suficiente. Solo le pido a Dios que lo injusto no me sea indiferente, que no me abofetee en la otra mejilla después que una garra me arañó esta suerte. Solo le pido a Dios que la guerra no me sea indiferente. Es un monstruo grande y pisa fuerte toda la pobre inocencia de la gente. Solo le pido a Dios que el engaño no me sea indiferente. Si un traidor puede más que unos cuantos, que esos cuantos no lo olviden fácilmente. Solo le pido a Dios que el futuro no me sea indiferente. Desahuciado está el que tiene que marchar a vivir una cultura diferente.
So beautiful. David, but as we know, my Spanish is rusty. Can we go through it verse by verse, and then I will offer back a translation, the translation that you shared with me.
Solo le pido a Dios que el dolor no me sea indiferente, que la reseca muerte no me encuentre solo y vacío sin haber hecho lo suficiente.
Okay, so that's all I ask of you, God, is that I not be indifferent to suffering. That disheveled death won't find me alone and empty, not having done enough.
Solo le pido a Dios que lo injusto no me sea indiferente, que no me bofetee en la otra mejilla después que una garra me arañó esta suerte.
All I ask of you, God, is that I not be indifferent to injustice, that they don't slap me again across the face after they have already clawed away my fate.
Solo le pido a Dios que la guerra no me sea indiferente. Es un monstruo grande y pisa fuerte toda la pobre inocencia de la gente.
All I ask of you, God, is that I not be indifferent to war. War is a huge monster, and it crushes the innocent people like you and me.
Solo le pido a Dios que el engaño no me sea indiferente. Si un traidor puede más que unos cuantos, que esos cuantos no lo olviden fácilmente.
All I ask of you, God, is that I not be indifferent to corruption. If a single traitor can do more than a few honest people, those few do not easily forget. Now that's slightly different than the translation that you shared with me. Are you okay with that? I'm not translating precisely.
Sure.
I'm just trying to convey meaning in the context of today's service.
Solo le pido a Dios que el futuro no me sea indiferente. Desahuciado está el que tiene que marchar a vivir una cultura diferente. Please, oh God, make me not indifferent to the future. Without hope is anybody who has to leave to live a different culture.
There's a Michael Hedges poem entitled Woman of the World. Almost secretly, that song lives within my soul in a way that is not just poetic, but very real. No one hears the way she whispers every changing season. And through every falling rain, I listen without reason, until the woman of the world shows me the secret seed that she planted in my heart. Her breath is cool to sway me, and roots to shoot down, and her eyes begin to shine, and my love runs leaf and vine through the woman of the world. This part of my mother that lives within me has no translation. There are no words for the sacred and precious gift of life itself. In David's opening words, he said that he would be willing to bet that some of us may long to be mothered. The word mother is a verb, a coded verb. It is a shorthand for being loved, respected, and cared for. In David's example, by Mother Earth, feeling the warm sun that caresses our faces as we eagerly witness the grand renewal of spring. I had a tearful conversation with my mom yesterday. It was lovely, so beautiful I cried. We talked about her husband, my father, who passed away. We talked about my sister, her daughter, and we joked about the ways of the world. We talked about the big picture ways of the world, peace and love and possibility, and we talked about the small picture ways of the world, like how annoyed she gets at her iPad that doesn't seem to work. We are an average family, average and extraordinary, like everyone else. We are a witness to the blessings and the miracles of life, and we bicker and we get shallow and we get caught up in the craziness and we get bogged down in the weeds. All we can ask is that we find the blessing in all of this, that we care for ourselves and one another along the journey that we share. May we do so in beauty, in kindness, and in grace. May it be so. Blessed be. And amen. An Oklahoma friend of spirit, minister, colleague in ministry, once stood before a group of people not unlike you here today and said, "I don't want to be part of a good family. Being part of a family is hard enough." In all of our grace and with all of our blessings, may we recognize that for whatever our gifts or for whatever our flaws, we've done and we are doing the best we can. May we reach out for that best. and find it in one another's eyes. On this good Mother's Day, may it be so, blessed be, and amen.